It all started with a single post, one that no one could have predicted would ignite such chaos. Within minutes, social media was flooded with whispers linking Mendeecees, Yandy, and Sierra in a story that felt too dramatic to be real, but too believable to ignore. Screenshots, old photos, and cryptic captions began circulating across every platform, creating a storm of speculation that seemed to grow stronger by the hour. What began as harmless gossip quickly transformed into a wildfire of accusations and emotional turmoil. Fans dissected every facial expression, every word, every emoji these three had ever shared online. A harmless throwback photo from years ago suddenly became proof, while a random like or comment became evidence of betrayal. The algorithms did their job too well, pushing the story to millions and framing it as a saga of love, loyalty, and lies. Yandy's silence added fuel to the blaze. Her absence online felt intentional, like a quiet scream. Mendeecees, on the other hand, tried to carry on as usual, posting business updates and family moments. But his usual smile seemed forced and everyone noticed. Sierra's name started trending next, and though she hadn't said a word, her old posts mysteriously reappeared in people's feeds with captions that now felt suspiciously symbolic. People dug up every possible clue, connecting timelines and cross-referencing photos as if they were solving a true crime mystery. The tension between Mendeecees and Yandy became a public spectacle, analyzed through the lens of strangers who claimed to know their hearts better than they did. It wasn't long before blogs picked up the story, adding sensational headlines that only deepened the chaos. Fans took sides, Team Yandy or Team Mendeecees, and the comment sections turned into emotional battlefields. Some defended Yandy's dignity and pain, while others questioned Mendeecees' loyalty, citing his sudden quietness as a sign of guilt. The more they denied, the more people speculated, feeding an endless loop of attention and doubt. In the middle of all this, Sierra remained the most mysterious. Her name was being dragged through trending hashtags, yet she said nothing. The silence made her either an innocent victim or a secret villain, depending on who you asked. The emotional weight of the situation was unbearable for those involved. But to the outside world, it was pure entertainment, a real-life drama playing out in real time. As the storm grew, one truth became clear. This was no longer a private matter. The internet had turned someone's heartbreak into a public obsession, and there was no going back. By the end of the first night, 3 lives had been changed forever, their reputations hanging in the balance of trending hashtags and viral opinions. No one knew what was real, but everyone had an opinion. And as new details began to surface, one haunting question echoed across every timeline: who was telling the truth and who was hiding it? Behind closed doors, away from the flashing screens and endless notifications, Yandy finally broke her silence. It wasn't in front of a camera or a crowd. It was in a dimly lit room filled with tension where every second of silence felt like a lifetime. Mendeecees sat across from her, his arms folded, his eyes searching hers for an explanation that he both feared and needed to hear. The air was heavy, not with anger, but with disappointment, the kind that only comes from someone you've loved deeply. Yandy took a deep breath before speaking, her voice trembling as if she was about to confess a secret that had been burning inside her for far too long. She admitted there were things she hadn't been honest about, that emotions had blurred lines she thought she could control. Mendeecees didn't interrupt. He just stared, his face frozen, processing every word like a punch to the gut. For years, they had shared everything: dreams, struggles, victories, and now those same memories were being rewritten in real time. Yandy's confession wasn't just about what happened, but why it happened. She spoke about loneliness, distance, and how fame had turned their love into a performance. Somewhere between the filtered photos and perfect captions, they had lost the real connection. Mendeecees felt betrayed, not just by what she had done, but by how long she had kept it from him. Still, a small part of him understood the emptiness she described because he had felt it, too. When she finally mentioned Sierra's name, the room went silent again. Mendeecees blinked, his heart pounding, unable to comprehend how someone who had once been part of their circle was now tangled in the middle of their pain. It wasn't just the betrayal that hurt. It was the humiliation, knowing the world already had opinions before he even knew the full truth. Yandy's tears flowed freely now, but Mendeecees couldn't bring himself to comfort her. Not yet. His mind replayed moments that suddenly seemed suspicious. The late replies, the vague explanations, the way she avoided eye contact when certain topics came up. Everything clicked painfully, one piece at a time. Yet, even through the anger, There was heartbreak because despite everything, he still loved her. And that made it worse. He wanted to yell, to demand answers, to escape the weight of it all, but he couldn't. Instead, he stood up, walked to the window, and stared at the city lights flickering like reminders of the chaos waiting outside. Yandy's voice broke the silence one last time as she whispered, "I never wanted to hurt you." But it was too late. The damage had already been done. Mendeecees finally turned to her, his voice cold but fragile, asking the question that had haunted him from the start. Was it ever real? She didn't answer, just lowered her eyes, knowing any response would only deepen the wound. That moment, raw, painful, and unfiltered, was the beginning of their unraveling. The private confession meant to heal had instead shattered what little trust remained. Outside that room, the world kept spinning, hashtags kept trending, and fans kept guessing. But inside those four walls, two people who once promised forever were now standing on opposite sides of the truth. And as the night faded into morning, one thing was clear. Love, once broken by secrets, can never return to what it was. While Mendeecees and Yandy struggled to hold their world together, Sierra's name was quietly becoming the centerpiece of every conversation online. She hadn't said a word publicly. But somehow her silence spoke louder than any statement could. Every post she had ever made was suddenly under a microscope. Old selfies, captions about loyalty, and vague quotes about truth always finding its way out. To her followers, these posts now carried new meaning. Some believed she was dropping hints, while others thought she was an innocent woman, dragged into a mess she didn't create. But the timing of everything was too perfect to ignore. Just days before the rumors exploded, Sierra had uploaded a story showing a sonogram photo with no context, no caption, and no tag. The image disappeared within minutes, but not before fans screenshot it and began to connect the dots. Was it real? Was it old? Or was it a message meant for someone specific? Her decision not to clarify only added more layers to the mystery. Theories began multiplying like wildfire. Some said she was the reason Yandy's confession had come out in the first place, claiming she had threatened to expose the truth if Yandy didn't. Others suggested she was being framed entirely, that she was a pawn in a larger game meant to destroy Mendeecees' reputation. Whatever the truth was, Sierra kept playing her cards close to her chest. She posted a cryptic line one evening, "You can't hide from what's already written." And within an hour, the internet erupted. Comment sections filled with accusations, sympathy, and wild speculation. Bloggers zoomed in on her every move, what brand she wore, which song she played in her car, and even who she followed or unfollowed that day. The attention was suffocating. Yet Sierra never deleted a post. She let the chaos unfold as if watching a storm she knew was inevitable. For Mendeecees and Yandy, her silence was the most painful part. It left them wondering whether she was protecting herself or waiting for the perfect moment to speak. Inside their circle, mutual friends were cutting ties, picking sides, or pretending not to know anything. The industry began whispering, and what had once been private heartbreak turned into public entertainment. Sierra became both villain and victim. Admired for her composure, hated for her mystery. No one could decide which version of her was real. As days passed, her cryptic tone continued, each word crafted like bait for a curious world desperate for answers. Every time she posted, millions watched, waiting for the truth to finally slip through her silence. And yet, it never did. Instead, her refusal to explain became her greatest power. She turned mystery into control. And in a scandal built on noise, Sierra's quietness became the loudest sound of all. After that night of confession, everything between Mendeecees and Yandy shifted. The air between them was no longer filled with love or anger, it was just empty. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly turned into brief exchanges or awkward silences. They moved around the same house like strangers, sharing space but not connection. Mendeecees threw himself into work, posting business updates and pretending everything was fine, but the exhaustion behind his smile told another story. Yandy, on the other hand, stopped posting altogether. Her social media, once a stream of joyful family moments, became completely silent. That silence spoke volumes to fans who began analyzing every absence and every untagged photo like detectives piecing together a mystery. The more they tried to stay private, the more public curiosity grew. Blogs began writing headlines like, "Are Mendeecees and Yandy over?" and "Yandy's silence speaks the truth," adding more pressure to an already fragile situation. Every scroll on social media reminded them that their personal pain was now global gossip. Mendeecees found himself staring at old photos, remembering the laughter that once filled the spaces now haunted by tension. Yandy noticed it too, but didn't know how to reach him anymore. The emotional distance between them felt heavier than any physical wall could ever be. At night, the silence grew louder. The same bed they once shared now felt like a battlefield. Mendeecees facing one side, Yandy the other. Both awake, both pretending to sleep. Sometimes she'd start to speak, but her voice would fade before any words could escape. She feared anything she said would only make things worse. Mendeecees, too, was trapped between love and resentment. He wanted to ask why, to demand an explanation that would make it all make sense, but deep down, he already knew there was no answer that could heal what was broken. Meanwhile, the outside world kept watching. Every time Mendeecees appeared alone at an event, the headlines screamed about a breakup. When Yandy was seen without her ring, screenshots went viral within minutes. Strangers began forming opinions, picking sides, and judging choices they didn't understand. It wasn't just gossip anymore, it was judgment disguised as entertainment. In their home, silence became the new language. Texts went unanswered. Dinners were skipped and apologies were swallowed instead of spoken. Mendeecees started sleeping on the couch more often, telling himself it was temporary, just to clear his head. Yandy noticed, but didn't stop him. She was too drained to fight. Every corner of their house reminded them of what they had lost. The couch where they planned their future. The kitchen where they shared midnight snacks. The hallway where they once laughed over nothing. Now those memories hurt more than they healed. Even their friends noticed the shift. Invitations slowed down, calls became rare. People didn't know how to approach them anymore. Afraid to say the wrong thing, Mendeecees and Yandy were trapped in an invisible war of pride and pain, both hoping the other would make the first move, yet too wounded to try themselves. The love that once held them together now felt like a ghost, lingering in every unspoken word. And as the silence stretched longer, the distance between them became something even deeper. An unbreakable wall built not from anger, but from heartbreak. Once the rumors had escaped the bounds of social media, the story became unstoppable. Entertainment blogs, gossip channels, and celebrity podcasts all jumped at the chance to dissect every fragment of Mendeecees, Yandy and Sierra's tangled situation. Within hours, headlines like "Love Triangle Gone Wrong" and "The Betrayal That Broke the Internet" flooded timelines. Clips of old interviews were pulled out of context, re-edited, and re-uploaded as proof of guilt or innocence. Everyone wanted a piece of the chaos. YouTubers filmed hour-long breakdowns, filled with theories, while podcasts debated who was really at fault. Fans became self-proclaimed detectives, creating timelines, analyzing Instagram likes, and screenshotting deleted comments as if building a criminal case. Each new rumor was treated as gospel until the next one appeared. Even verified accounts began weighing in, turning the story from a private heartbreak into a full-blown public spectacle. Yandy's old videos about loyalty resurfaced and were twisted into evidence of hypocrisy. Mendeecees' motivational posts were mocked as damage control, and Sierra, with her silence, was painted as either the mastermind or the victim, depending on which side you listened to. The situation spun so fast that no one could keep up with what was real anymore. For fans who had followed Mendeecees and Yandy for years, the betrayal felt personal. People tweeted about how their relationship had inspired them, how it gave them hope that love could survive fame, and now they felt betrayed too. Others reveled in the drama, treating it like a live TV show that refreshed every hour with new twists. Hashtags like Tart Yandy and Heart to Mendeecees trended simultaneously, turning heartbreak into a global debate. Brands that once worked with the couple began quietly distancing themselves, pausing campaigns, and deleting old posts. The media pressure was crushing, but the emotional damage was worse. Mendeecees couldn't go online without seeing his name dragged through every headline. Yandy couldn't scroll without being reminded of the public humiliation that her private confession had caused. Even people who knew nothing about them had opinions, and the internet was relentless in demanding updates. Some claimed to have inside sources, spreading lies for clicks. Others begged Yandy to tell her side, not realizing that every word she said would only feed the fire. The noise was deafening. Mendeecees tried to stay silent, but silence online only fuels curiosity. Fans began reading between the lines of his captions, convinced each post contained a hidden message. When he shared a photo with the words "still standing," it sparked hundreds of comments arguing about whether it was aimed at Yandy or Sierra. The truth no longer mattered. Only the narrative that got the most engagement did. What made it worse was how icily the internet turned empathy into entertainment. Every tear, every pause, every quiet moment between posts became part of the show. The couple's pain was now public property, discussed, judged, and monetized. And as the media storm raged on, it became clear that this wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was a story people didn't want to end. For the internet, it was content. For Mendeecees and Yandy, it was real life. And every headline cut a little deeper. Every headline cut a little deeper. The breaking point came one late evening when a leaked audio clip surfaced online. It was grainy, emotional, and raw. Two voices arguing, one of them unmistakable, the other sounding heartbreakingly like Yandy. Within minutes, it spread across every platform. The clip captured fragments of a private argument, snippets that painted a picture of betrayal, pain, and confrontation. No one knew who recorded it, but it didn't matter. The world finally had something concrete to feed on. And by the next morning, the clip had millions of views and endless commentary videos dissecting every word. Mendeecees woke up to chaos. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing, and his name was trending again, but this time with words like liar and exposed attached to it. When he finally played the clip himself, his heart dropped. Hearing his own anger thrown into the public felt like reliving the worst night of his life, except now everyone was watching. Yandy, on the other hand, was shattered. The conversation had been private. A desperate moment between two people trying to make sense of heartbreak, never meant for the world to hear. Yet there it was played, looped, and judged by strangers. The betrayal wasn't just between them anymore. It was between them and the public that refused to let their wounds heal. Later that day, Mendeecees went live on his account. His voice was calm, but his eyes told a different story. He didn't deny the clip. Instead, he said, "You think you know everything, but you only know what you're shown." It wasn't anger, it was exhaustion. He explained that the clip had been twisted, that emotions were high, and that sometimes pain makes people say things they don't mean. The internet didn't care. Comments flooded in, half supporting him, half accusing him of manipulation. Every sentence became a headline, every pause a meme. Meanwhile, Yandy remained silent for nearly 2 days. When she finally posted, it wasn't a statement or a video. It was a simple note on a black background. "Truth doesn't need to scream." That one line broke the internet again. Some said she was claiming innocence. Others saw it as defiance. Sierra's name was dragged right back into the storm as people began suggesting she might have been the one to leak the clip. Her silence became even more suspicious. Blogs claimed to have insider details, hinting that Sierra and Yandy had met secretly before everything went public. Though no one could prove it, what was once an emotional conflict between three people had now turned into a full-blown investigation by millions of strangers. Mendeecees felt trapped. Damned if he spoke. Damned if he didn't. His closest friends advised him to stay offline, but the damage had already been done. Every attempt to defend himself looked like guilt, and every silence was seen as an admission. The trust that once defined his relationship with Yandy was gone, replaced by a painful mix of resentment and longing. Even as he scrolled through the hate comments, what hurt most wasn't the judgment. It was the realization that somewhere in the noise, their love had become unrecognizable. For Yandy, the betrayal was layered. It wasn't just about what Mendeecees had done, or what Sierra may have known. It was about how quickly the world had taken their private story and rewritten it without mercy. She watched strangers debate her pain as if it were fiction. At one point, an old clip of Mendeecees praising her in an interview resurfaced, and fans flooded her. Every time she tried to explain, her PR team reminded her that words could be twisted. So, she said nothing. The truth, she realized, wasn't about proving who was right or wrong. It was about surviving the noise. Mendeecees eventually deleted his live video, posting only one final message before disappearing from social media for weeks. "You can't fix what people enjoy breaking." That line summed up everything. Fell of the betrayal, and the painful truth that sometimes the world doesn't want clarity, it wants chaos. And in that chaos, their story became everyone's entertainment, but their own healing. As the leaked clip continued to dominate headlines, Sierra's silence became the most powerful weapon in the entire scandal. She didn't post, she didn't comment, she didn't even like anything, just vanished from the digital world, and yet, her name never stopped trending. Fans began to treat her silence as strategy, analyzing every absence like it was a clue. "She's waiting for the right moment," one fan tweeted. "She's guilty and hiding," said another. Both theories went viral. Meanwhile, gossip accounts started claiming that Sierra was negotiating an exclusive interview to set the record straight. Though no proof ever surfaced, the uncertainty was maddening. Every day she stayed quiet. The speculation grew louder. People went back to her old videos, searching for hidden meanings in her laughter, body language, even her clothes. One clip of her saying, "I don't chase, I attract," resurfaced, now viewed as a confession in disguise. Fan pages began dividing into groups.